This is the CoasterBuzz podcast number 6 for October 31st, 2005. Welcome everyone to the CoasterBuzz podcast, the show where we discuss the week's biggest news in the amusement industry. My name is Jeff Putz. I'm the webmaster and chief editor of CoasterBuzz.com. I am joined today by Mike Jandis from Chicago. We are here in beautiful Lighthouse Point at Cedar Point. It's a little bit chilly here in Sandusky, Ohio, but nice crowds in the park today. We're actually shooting this on Saturday of the weekend, so about 2 days before you are able to see and listen to this podcast. This week we also have another special show coming up on Wednesday where our host will be, host and guest actually, will be Dick Kinzel, who's the Chief Executive Officer of Cedar Fair LP. So we're looking forward to that. It should be a good time. Let's get into the headlines now. Six Flags Astroworld is closing forever this weekend. The interesting thing they did this week is they decided to go and limit the admission only to the season pass holders and people who pre-ordered on the internet. If you haven't been paying attention the last couple of weeks, that particular park is being closed and sold off for the land because the land is apparently more valuable to Six Flags than the actual park is. So nobody really likes to see a park close. A lot of history with that one, but it's done. So we look forward to reading the trip reports on CoasterBuzz. Lots of new attractions this week, so we'll go through them one by one, attraction announcements. First one is from Hershey Park, Reese's Extreme Cup Challenge. Now let me read the press release to this because it's a little hard to imagine what exactly this does. Even though I've seen the video, I still don't quite get it. This is from the press release. Reese's Extreme Cup Challenge is the first interactive dark ride to pit car against car in a high-energy score fest that is unequaled anywhere in the world. Two vehicles with competing teams travel through a series of exciting competition zones featuring Reese's branded extreme sports events. Hang on to your laser blasters and take aim at the targets as you swoop, climb, and dip through the action. Accumulate as many points for your team as you can. The winning car will be declared the winner at the end of the challenge, and a sweet reward awaits all who play. Okay, now that we got that out, extreme sports, candy, and laser guns. Now, I understand dark rides are supposed to be fun, and I'm all for that, but what were they thinking when they put these things together? I mean, I guess it must be cooler than it appears or sounds, because right now I can't even imagine what this looks like.
Well, my thought is why go with Reese's Peanut Butter Cups? If you're going to do something like this and you're going to theme it to your candy bars, what about Mounds and Almond Joy, who already have that?
Right. They have. Yeah, sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't. Yeah. So, what do you feel like here? I don't know. This is the second Sally ride that I've heard that they're gonna that will open next year. The other one being at Holiday World, and the thing with the turkeys, at least that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, there's a clear goal here. This one,
when you watch the video, it just looks like Reese's Peanut Butter Cup stuff out there. There's no plot other than to shoot things that don't seem shootable.
I don't understand the extreme sports tie-in.
No.
I mean, are you going to shoot snowboarders? And if so, why would you shoot a snowboarder? You know? So yeah, I guess the big thing is everyone, and this came up in the forum too. This one's obviously one we're going to have to wait and see.
Yeah.
Because just reading the press release, this doesn't make sense. I'm sure it'll be fun. Anytime you get to ride around and shoot things, that's that's the American way, right? But really, what is that going to be about? I don't know. Looking forward to it, I guess, to check that park out. Michigan's Adventure announced Grand Rapids this week. It's an Intamin river rapids ride. I think it's part of a $6 million expansion. Also, they're going to do a 50s style coaster restaurant, which you'll find in a lot of the other Cedar Fair parks. But overall, I have to say that this is the perfect high capacity ride for that park, and especially because it's going to bring the crowds in. You've got a great water park. Give them another excuse to get in there on that ride. I think excellent attraction, not very inexpensive for a park that size. This one's going to cost more than Shivering Timbers actually did, but still, I mean, shouldn't every park have one of these?
I thought every park did have one of these until they announced this. But yeah, it seems like the more updated Flumish ride that went in back in the 80s. Then every park now, should have the big rapids ride that gets you just drenched.
Right, and especially because we've talked a little bit in prior weeks about what a park like Michigan's Adventure would do to expand, and given the fact that they finally have city water now, that they can do more improvements like a hotel or whatever. To see this kind of ride come in there, though, it's a signature ride that you can pretty much get the whole range of people on. So overall, great expansion idea. I know people, especially in our community, would have loved to have had another coaster. But hey, I think this is a great addition. I'm really looking forward to riding this one. LaRonde, up in Canada, has managed to score Goliath. It's going to be a B&M Junior Hypercoaster. I know that there's a lot of debate about what that means. Who cares, okay? It's a tall roller coaster. It's a B&M, 175 feet tall. This thing is going to have 10 drops. This is the second ride of this kind of caliber that we've seen announced in the last couple of weeks, the other one being for Six Flags Over Georgia. In my opinion, this makes a good alternative to a hypercoaster in that you need a little bit less room. It's got that great out and back, up and down kind of feel to it, and I would like to see more of these. I'm excited about this ride. I feel like I need to go out there and see this now.
Yeah, this ride looks like an airtime machine based on the layout of it. The only bad thing I think about the overall, press of it is, or the press release of it is, the video that after waiting 3 or 4 hours on a crowded LaRonde site was basically a video of Nitro. Yeah. Complete with the Nitro logo, but
in true Six Flags fashion, they recycle all the footage. Nice going, Six Flags PR, right on. Yeah,
but I too am excited about riding this ride.
I think that this is the thing that's going to finally get me to go to Georgia as well. And I mean, let's separate the two issues. I mean, on one hand, you have enthusiast crowd like us who need an excuse from time to time to go to these other parks, but still at their core, these are regional attractions, and these regional attractions are certainly something that you need to have that capital investment every couple of years to bring people back. For a park like LaRonde, which I would think has pretty much a corner on the market out there, this is awesome. It really is. Yeah. So, and I can see, if a lot of other smaller parks can afford this kind of ride, by all means, let's do it. I'm really excited about this. I love the existing ones. I've been on Nitro, Apollo's Chariot, and Raging Bull, and they're great rides, Even if this is a little bit smaller like that. I mean, this actually has more drops than Nitro does. Why not? So, looking forward to this one a lot. Mount Olympus is planning an indoor park. There's a shocker in the Dells. They're certainly looking now to expand their business year-round, and we've talked about this almost every week because it's always on everyone's mind. What do we build now? How do we take these areas, these facilities that we have, and get some use out of them year-round? They want to also put some real rides internally on this thing, including a spinning coaster. Now, you said you've been on Timberland Twister.
Yes.
That sounds like the kind of ride that they want to build. Is that the perfect thing for an indoor park?
I was blown away by Timberland Twister. I'm not too big on spinny rides, and having been on Raging Cajun, the spinning coaster at Great America, I thought I knew what to expect, but Timberland Twister just blew me away. And if they're putting something like that in it, I would make the trip out just for that ride, because that ride amazed me in terms of a small spinning coaster. And if that is something that's going in out there, that would probably make me come up in the quote-unquote off-season, right, just to visit that area.
Well, that's the thing. I think, indoor water parks are one thing. This is, at least from what they described in the news article, this sounds like something that kind of expands beyond that, in that it's going on to full-blown amusement park status. And, the number of places that have roller coasters indoors, period, you can count in one hand, So I think to do this really ups the ante a bit. It pushes the game a little further. How is the attendance going to be at this thing? We can only dream. Yeah. But who else is going to do it? Is Cedar Fair going to do it around one of their properties? Is Great Wolf going to try to push in that direction? Because these are expensive investments. I mean, building a hotel and a water park, by comparison, is inexpensive than to do a full-blown park like this. So still, it to me makes sense. Those of us who live in places where we have to deal with snow, and particularly lake effect snow, and those of you who live near the Great Lakes know exactly what I'm talking about, this kind of thing makes sense to me. I would go to a place like this, if it's local or not. Get me there, get me out of the house, because come January, February, I'm pulling my hair out. See, that's something people in California and Florida, they don't understand. And we're from the Midwest, so.
And those of us in the Midwest, we don't get that opportunity to ride coasters, right, during the off season.
Unless we go south or west. Yeah. So I'm all for it. I say more of these things we definitely need. But I don't know. I'm glad to see that someone's taking the initiative to do it. Let's see how it works, because the other companies are probably going to be a little more conservative about it before they jump into these things. So I don't know, that whole idea of that year-round attraction. Kings Island is trying it this year with their Winterfest. They've done it before, and it was so much success. But they're trying to extend their season, and make these seasonal attractions year-round. So we'll see. Another announcement, well, this is kind of a semi-announcement actually. Cypress Gardens announced that they're going to do a year-long celebration. Part of that is the groundbreaking for their new coaster, which is actually the Starliner from the Miracle Strip Amusement Park, which unfortunately closed. Particularly, there's a very strong group of people who, in the enthusiast community, who are big about preserving older rides and saving older rides. And I know that a lot of them were really excited when this thing was announced that Kent Busher, from the guy who owns the park, was buying this ride, and it's going to still live on. I haven't been on it, obviously, but you don't see this very often, and I'm one of the realist types who feels that how realistic is it to lift up one of these wooden rides and put it somewhere else? And I know I catch a lot of flack for that, but when it does happen, it's a good thing, and I can't complain about it. I think it's great. Cypress Gardens has had a very long history in Florida, and to see it succeed the way that it is now I think it's really encouraging. There is something out there in Florida other than the Rat and Universal, so I can't argue with that.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of wooden rides, you've been to Knoebels?
No, I have not.
Okay, I was going to say we're going to try to go down that other preserved ride route. See, we're posers. We're not. I guess we're not really the enthusiasts that everyone was hoping for. But yeah, I like Cypress Gardens. I was there as a kid, and at the time it was the ski show thing, and I loved the news article that described it because apparently when he did the announcement, they had one of those big pyramid formations skiing past him as he did the announcement. It's kind of cool. It's certainly been good for the economy in Winter Haven, the winter home of the Cleveland Indians, or former. I don't think they're there anymore. Doesn't matter, they're going to lose anyway. Our last story on the lineup, there's a rooftop half pipe that's going up in a Tokyo neighborhood, and it's going on top of a Don Quixote department store. I guess it's a department store. They described it as having a bizarre array of electronics and food, and I don't know, it's one of those things. It's something obviously very uniquely Japanese, but the neighbors are not real happy about this, and interestingly enough, I did a Google search for that company. They managed to piss off everyone around wherever they set up a store, because they tend to do late hours, and in this case, apparently till 7 a.m.
Yeah, I was going to say abnormal hours.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, it's interesting to me because this looks like the Intamin half pipe that we've seen at a couple other parks open up, except this thing is on top of a building. And to me, now as an enthusiast, I look at all these Japanese parks where they put rides in the most bizarre places, and I think it's great.
Yeah.
I think, hey, let's do it, But the other thing that seemed interesting about the article is it doesn't sound like it's that much of a residential neighborhood. So if it's not a lot of people living there,
I think it's really easy to satisfy these neighbors by just limiting the hours of operation of the ride to not 7 a.m.
Right.
But yeah, to me, it looks like a very interesting ride, and or very interesting placement for a ride. But some of the complaints, like one of the complaints was a beauty salon or spa.
The spa, because they were looking for
relaxation.
Relaxation, and they're worried about the screams, et cetera. And okay, I guess I can sympathize with that, but at the same time, your spa's not outdoors.
Yeah.
So, it's another one of those things where I think a lot of people just have that not in my backyard mentality, and I don't know, like I said, I love to see things like this. I think it's great, because you don't see this kind of stuff in the States. I guess that's what it is. Nobody's going to spend this kind of money to stick a roller coaster on top of their store. It just doesn't happen here, because our retail establishments are there for a year before they're closed and something else. I don't know, so it's exciting, but that's about all of our headlines this week. We actually have some riding to do, this being a beautiful weekend. Like I said, a little bit chilly here at Lighthouse Point in Sandusky, Ohio at Cedar Point, but we will be back again on Wednesday with our podcast with Dick Kinzel, Chief Executive Officer of Cedar Fair LP. So that's it for this week. I'd like to thank Mike for sharing the cottage with me this weekend and helping split that cost. We'll see you in a couple more days. And if you'd like to learn more about our podcast, of course, you can check out podcast.coasterbuzz.com. And if you click on the About link at that site, you can get information on how you can sponsor this podcast. We would love to have a sponsor, so if you're watching, hook us up. This recording may not be redistributed or broadcast without the express written permission of Pop World Media. Copyright 2005 Pop World Media, all rights reserved. That's it for us from Cedar Point. See you next week.